Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Time! Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game! Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! Float game for the win! Ayler's gone. Goodbye, touchdown, Indy! Woo! IU! America! They got a football team now!
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It is another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday, getting your week started off well. I hope you had a great weekend, and if not, hopefully we'll restart it for you, get it going in the right direction. And what better way to do that than with Greg Rakestraw. Greg, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. You must have something serious planned today. You're not wearing a ball cap.
Well, you know what? I thought about that. I was like, well, you know what?
Okay, there we go. Now we go. There we go.
It's
All
right on there. I just
right.
didn't throw it on. That is the normal. You're very astute there. That is the normal thing. But I caught your broadcast on the Colts game, man, and it was for a preseason game. It was entertaining right down to the last second. And right before we came on, we were talking about that. If this had been a regular season game, and I think you made reference to this in the broadcast,
right,
that would have been looked at a lot more because the Colts scored a touchdown on that last play, man.
That was absolutely a touchdown. There was no doubt about it. It never thought into my mind that was not a catch. I get the feeling that was a game that had 23 penalties. It was a bit over officiated. And then by the time that replay had happened, it was 4:20. The game was 3 hours and 20 minutes old. I think that was a, hey, let's get out of here type of moment. So I did the post-game show after on the radio like I normally do. And I basically said, folks, if this is a regular season game, we have to have the dump button ready because that was absolutely a touchdown. A preseason game, kind of sweep it under the rug, you move on, no big deal. But that was absolutely a catch and should have been a Colts win. But again, when the Colts first stringers were in the game, albeit against the Packers second string, I thought the Colts first stringers did a lot of good things. So I thought Saturday was still a good day for the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, and I think we're a lot closer to the naming of QB1, which I think for most of us, we already have an indication of what direction that's probably going to go. I hate to make it an incorrect prediction, but Anthony Richardson seems to have maintained his position as the heir apparent.
I think that's a fair assumption to make, and I think Shane's going to make that announcement tomorrow. The coordinators will speak at 1:00 today. Players are there, but going through meetings, I believe is the case today. Team will practice Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Again, the training camp portion, at least in Grand Park, is over with. All 90 guys are still on the roster. The NFL has wisely made that move over the last few years to make sure you've got a full roster going into that last post or preseason game. My guess, this is an educated guess, but not one, from comments from Shane Steichen. My bet would be is that starters don't play in this one. After we saw a handful of them against Baltimore, we saw players play, 2, 3, 4 series in some cases. And because of the injuries they have piled up at two positions, at the cornerback spot, to a lesser degree at the safety position, and now along the offensive line, I think starters are sitting for this game against the Bengals. And if you're going to sit your starters, you're not going to see Richardson or Jones again. You might as well go ahead and make a decision. And I agree with you. I think Anthony Richardson's the starting quarterback 3 weeks from now for the opener against Miami.
And the ironic thing is that has been the fans' desire from what I've seen, from what I read and what I've seen. Fans are like, okay, just go ahead and name me Anthony. They want him to be the guy between the two. They would like to see him do well. Of course, they want to see the Colts do well. But that's been supportive for a guy who probably hasn't quite earned that support.
What I would say it is this. I think fans recognize that this team can go farther with Anthony Richardson. They frankly can also fall farther with Anthony Richardson. The floor is higher with Daniel Jones, but there's a limitation there. And this hit me kind of in watching him in practice last week. He's Gardner Minshew with a little bit more mobile, a little more size. In terms of the 5, 10, 15, 20-yard passing game, I think Daniel Jones is fantastic. He was 7 of 1,101 yards. I don't think this is anything that he has done wrong. I think it's the fact that there has just not been separation between those two guys. And because of that, I think you're going to go with the incumbent. The one thing that I will say is this. The Colts have done this year is they have streamlined the quarterback position. The offense you run with Anthony Richardson would be the offense you would run with Daniel Jones, would be the offense you would run with Riley Leonard. And again, I don't think it's getting to Riley Leonard unless two guys get hurt. But in theory, you've got three guys that play the game a similar way. So, again, I would not imagine official word today, but I think we're going to get official word tomorrow. And again, this is not inside information. This is just me trying to make 2 + 2 = 4. I think it's Anthony Richardson as well.
I agree with you. The Fever, I noticed, man, a huge win for them on the road. They go up to Connecticut, and again, how long they're still without Caitlin Clark. This has been a long, extended period, and I'm wondering, is that just to make sure because they brought her back too soon? Obviously,
Correct.
The first time.
Yeah, there have been 2 injuries and 2 pauses in her season. And so this time they are going to be 1,000% sure. They also have kind of their longest gap of the regular season before the next game. So in theory, I wouldn't say if she's going to come back, but you'd have 3 or 4 practices here to be able to kind of say, okay, are you ready to build this up? They suffered another injury yesterday in terms of Sophie Cunningham, who's been really good this year. And the issue that happened about 10 to 14 days ago is that, obviously Caitlin Clark is your point guard when she's playing. Well, the 2 players that have handled the ball behind her both got hurt out for the season, same game. Sydney Colson and then Ari McDonald, who was brought in on kind of a hardship deal. They have had 2 different players now they have brought in on hardship contracts that are with the team, and they had to go out and get a third in Odyssey Sims, and she was the starting point guard yesterday. And so the injury issues that they have dealt with, and frankly, a lot of teams in the WNBA have dealt with, have kind of derailed the season. So Connecticut's not very good. Frankly, the Fever got beat by a not very good team on Friday night too. But you kind of have to grade things on a curve because you're literally having players walking off the street, hand the ball, and say, here, you're the starting point guard. Fever are 2.5 games up for a playoff spot with 9 games left to go. You hope Caitlin Clark comes back. To me, the most encouraging sign for the Indiana Fever and for at large the WNBA is like the crowds have not fallen off a cliff when Caitlin has not been playing. I'm sure the secondary ticket market is not what it normally would have been, but it's not like the Fever have played games home or road in front of a lot of empty seats. This has still been a really big show when the Fever have come to your town or have been playing at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. So I almost think that whatever happens this year, you kind of say, all right, there's not much you can take from it, good or bad, because the team won't look different next year. It's just you would hope from a health standpoint, the 2026 Fever look a lot different than the 2025 Fever. So again, I'm not sure unless this team gets healthy and makes this great run in the postseason. I think when this season's over, you kind of say, all right, everybody take a break. Everybody get healthy. Let's come back and try this again in 26.
Yeah, but yet they still are looking like a pretty strong team if and once they get Caitlin Clark back.
If and again, that there is hope there, but it's an if, and you just don't know.
How much time is left in the season?
So they basically go through, I want to say, the weekend of September the 12th, I believe, is when the regular season is over with. So you've got 3-4 weeks to get in 9 more games. They have expanded the calendar. It used to be 34 games. Now it's all the way up to 44 games. And that, again, shows the popularity of the league. Teams want more home dates. Teams want more of an opportunity to sell tickets, revenue, advertising, et cetera. So there is time, but again, injuries have played such a factor. You just kind of shrug your shoulders mode and see who you got on a given night and go tee it up and go play.
That's about all you can do. Your busy schedule continues, like you said. What else you have going on right now? I'm sure soccer is continuing to go roll on with the Indy 11.
Correct. And so actually on Saturday, Jim, I did the double. I had the Colts at 1. I had the Indy 11 at 7. They were on the road. They have struggled over the last month.
So you went from football to football.
Football has been my life over the course of the last couple of weeks. I've got Indy 11 on Wednesday in their Jägermeister Cup quarterfinal against the Greenville Triumph. You can see that on ESPN Plus if you're in the Indianapolis area on TV 23. The high school football season starts on Friday night. My game is Lawrence Central and Lawrence North. Lawrence North was one of the best teams in the state last year, got beat by Brownsburg in the regional. Brownsburg went on to win the state championship. LN should be good again this coming season. Looking forward to that rivalry game out of the jump. Final preseason game, so I'll have television for the Colts. CBS 4 in Indianapolis, WBKI for those of you that are watching from, say, Southern Indiana, the Louisville area. We've got affiliates in Terre Haute, Evansville, Fort Wayne, South Bend, and Honolulu. So in case you're watching this at 4 in the morning in Hawaii, you can watch the game on Saturday at 8 a.m. on KHON because, Jim, I know how big your audience is in Hawaii at this time of day. So, and then I've got
How did that come to be?
I've got the college soccer season too. So it's that time of year. Here we go.
How did the affiliate in Honolulu come to be?
It's a couple of things. First of all, Rigoberto Sanchez played in Hawaii. DeForest Buckner from Hawaii. The stations in Hawaii also tend to pick up a lot of NFL affiliation in terms of preseason football. But yes, we are available. We weren't available on Saturday, but they're picking up the road game instead of the home game for some reason. So thankfully, we're back on all of the islands as of Saturday afternoon,
including the Big Island, Indiana.
That's right. That too.
And so we've got this is the penultimate week of college football fall camp. But you mentioned high school football kicks off this Friday. The next weekend is the kickoff of the traditional kickoff of college football, and then the NFL follows the week after that, I believe. So in perfect succession, we get introduced to the football season, and I think everybody's ready for it in every way. Whether you're a Colts fan, Indiana Purdue fan, maybe not a Purdue fan this year just yet, but they've got a new coach in there, the guy from UNLV, Barry, that came in that had the best run at UNLV in their history. So hopefully he'll get things turned around. I noticed that Ryan Walters is now the defensive coordinator at Washington for the Huskies. So he did not miss a beat. It's just going to be a fun year. Excuse me. And I'm looking forward to just seeing college football, period, and just getting these games going.
You know what I'm looking forward to, Jim? Cooler temperatures. That's what football tells me, that eventually at some point in time, and I think the weather's supposed to break. Actually, I was warm today, and it really supposed to break, I think, as of midweek. But there was good news, bad news, the Colts training camp. Okay, the good news is they never had to practice indoors once the entire time. They were outside for every practice. The bad news was it was 1,000,000 degrees. And there was like a sweat bee infestation part of training camp. That was I've had more fun events than sitting on the sideline and watching Colts practice for parts of the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Just watching everybody chasing the sweat bees.
I was getting my steps in. I was chasing sweat bees as much as I was the offense.
Oh man, what's up next for you, brother?
So Wednesday night for the Indy 11 will be the next time you can see me. Got a lot of ESPN Plus this week. So Wednesday for the Indy 11. College soccer with Butler season opener for the men and women on Thursday night, a doubleheader. I'll have them Sunday night on ESPN Plus as well. And yes, Big East, I want to say secondary sports and even some men's basketball, a lot of women's basketball, all moved to ESPN Plus this year. That's new. That's part of a new television contract. If you're watching the Butler men's basketball team, FS1, FS2, and Big Fox for weekend games is still the place to go. But a lot of the streaming now is moving to ESPN Plus. But again, high school football Friday night, and that that Colts Bengals game from the Ohio River on Saturday afternoon. It'll keep me hopping all week long.
Hey, and that should be a fun one, to be honest with you. It'll be interesting to see what the Bengals can get done this year, as well as the Colts, of course. But you mentioned soccer. I think that Indiana, they've got big games to open up the year, as well as the second game they take on Louisville, and then they take on Clemson.
Correct.
So, and then followed by San Francisco. So no rest for the weary, man. They're getting right after it.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Well, brother, appreciate you as always. Look forward to next week to finding out how things are going on in the life of Greg Rakestraw.
See you, buddy.
You have a great one. Greg Rakestraw from the ISC Sports Network joining us. Make sure you're giving him a follow, as well as that of the ISC Sports Network. Man, good start to the week. Looking forward to continuing on, and big thanks to each and every one of you, no matter where or how you're listening, whether it's on one of our great affiliate stations like 97.7 ESPN, the Ref, always the right call, down in Evansville or up in the region, on the voice of the region, 12:30 a.m., 104.7 FM WJOB, and in Fort Wayne on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan. You've got it locked in the right spot. Keep it there all day. No reason to go anywhere else. We've got more coming up. We'll take our first break. We're back with plenty more. Here at Indiana Sports Beat Radio, Jim Coyle with you, back with more right on the other side of these messages. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing, or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition, or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Hello, everybody. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday. Glad to have you along, as always. Busy week for me, as let's see, we've got the Corn Ferry Tour media event that goes on down in French Lick tomorrow. I think I will be down there doing the show from French Lick from the Pete Dye course. Looking forward to that. Then on Thursday, we've got the Never Lose Hoop golf outing. And for those of you that make sure that you are sign up if you haven't already. Man, that's a great event. And got this, see if I can get that pulled up right there. There we go. For those of you that can see on if you're following along on social media, but if not, the 12th annual Never Lose Hoop golf outing this Thursday, August 21st, 11 a.m. at the golf club at Eagle Point. You get a box lunch, dinner, non-alcoholic drinks are included. There's a silent auction, of course. You could register for a foursome or register as a threesome and get a celebrity player as your fourth. Same price for that. or you can register as an individual. But it's in conjunction with the Community Foundation of Bloomington and Monroe County, and this all benefits area families with children dealing with cancer. It's been going on for 12 years. The Halls family has been putting this on, and J.C. Halls has done a tremendous job of doing this. The entire family, J.C. and Joni Halls, work their butts off every year to do this, and it started back when J.C. had cancer. I need to try to get J.C. on tomorrow to do that, to talk about that with us, and which will be perfect timing since he'll be down at Prince Lick. So got that going for us, which is nice. How was your weekend? I hope it was well, as things are just kind of chilling, waiting for the season to start. As I mentioned, we're in the penultimate week of football fall camp. This will be the last really hard week, I guess. Next week, you kind of lighten things up and just start working on making sure everything is repetitive, that you're doing things consistently now, and you're doing them quicker. Each week they want to, make sure the ball is getting snapped quicker, make sure the plays are crisper, make sure that there are less and less and less and less and less mistakes. That's the big deal. So congratulations, Fulton Mraz. I know he had his banner hung up at Lucas Oil Stadium this weekend, so that was pretty cool for him. Congratulations. I saw the photo he sent to me. Great. Congratulations. That's awesome for you. You should be proud. So very cool deal for him. Baseball, of course, kind of winding down as we get closer, but we're still in August, the dog days of August, man. And my Reds holding on as they are, a half game out of the wild card race. Is that right? Which would be crazy to see 3 teams come out of the Central Division in the National League to make the playoffs. But not so much in the fact that you've got the Milwaukee Brewers, who have the best record in all of baseball with 78 wins. As a matter of fact, that's 5 wins closer than the next 2 closest teams, and several more than, say, Houston, who has 69 and 55, and the West in the American League, 71 wins apiece for Philly and for the Dodgers, who lead those East and West divisions there. Kyle Schwarber going back to the playoffs for certain with the Phillies. The New York Mets, they're holding on to that wild card spot right now. I have to get Cabro on, man. Talk about his Mets and my Reds. They'll be doing some battles. You got the Cubs. The Cubs are pretty much secured a playoff spot right now. Yeah, I said that. The Cubs are pretty much secured a playoff spot. Crazy to say that, although they are 8 games back, as Dusty says. But they're leading the race for the wild card playoff spot. And I can't remember, do they take 2 or 3 wild card teams? I don't remember. It really might as well be 3 if you're going to do it, but I can't recall that. And because the Padres are actually, I take that back, the Mets are second in the wild card race. So 69 and 55 for the Padres. They are a couple games back of the Mets in that race. And then, of course, I'm getting all confused. The Cubs are leading the wild card race. Then it's the Padres. Then it would be the Mets, and the Reds are a half game back of the Mets. So have a little K-Bro battle going on this year. I have to get K-Bro on. We'll talk about some baseball, but also football. As the SEC, he's been covering the Florida Gators. Get a taste of the SEC, what that's going to be like this year. College football overall, Indiana opening up 2 weeks from this past Saturday against Old Dominion. I bet you they would rather have the games reversed in those first 3 games and play Indiana State first. I mean, I don't mean to be disrespectful towards Indiana State, but that program is just not good, and they should probably not even be a Division I football program, to be honest with you. But that They are. So what are you going to do? Old Dominion, probably the toughest of the three teams are going to play in those first three games. And the times are set for those first two, at least. The opening game against Old Dominion, 2:30 kickoff. So that gives people some time to tailgate, get into the season a little bit. It's better than having a noon kickoff. That would really, really suck to have a noon kickoff on your first Saturday because there's no tailgating time. And that's a lot of trouble for a lot of those people that come down from Fort Wayne, from wherever. That's some driving, man. And you'd want to get a little more time in. I get that. But yeah, the noon ones are tough. You just don't get that. But that they work in the opposite way as you get you get to get out of there a lot sooner. So Dusty says, is I-70 the cutoff in Indiana for Cubs or Reds fans? I don't know that there is a cutoff. I think it's, because for me, I've said this before, I was 5 years from being a Cardinals fan because growing up in Southern Indiana, the Reds were on radio there all the time. It wasn't the Cardinals that were on radio, but kind of 5 years after my fandom began, I would say, the A. Ray Smith owned the AAA team of the St. Louis Cardinals, which were the Redbirds, and I forget where they were originally, but he brought them to Louisville. And boy, it was a big deal. They became the first minor league team to draw 1 million people, and it was just a huge deal. Plus, he had a ton of talent that came through there from the Cardinals. Andy Van Slyke, Vince Young, or Vince Coleman, just all kinds of guys. All the big names all came through Louisville, and it was pretty fun. They were very successful. Jim Fregosi was a manager for a long time. So it was a pretty big deal. And of course, the Cardinals, one of the great organizations in all of sports, period. Not baseball, just sports, period. They're one of those, Pittsburgh Steeler type organizations, one of the greats. And but that 5 years, had that team come to town 5 years sooner, I don't know what would have happened with my fandom, but I'm a Reds fan, grew up a Reds fan. You can't change baseball teams, man. You just it's kind of innate. It's in you. You are what you are. And and if you can stay being a fan of a team that is a mid-market team, that the chances of winning aren't that great, especially when you're a smaller market team like Cincinnati, then hey. But man, they have Eli de la Cruz, and they've got him through a few, like at least 3 more years. I was worried they're going to be losing him soon, but it won't be until that next contract comes up until he becomes a big time money making machine. But it would be really cool to see the Reds. It would be cool to see the Brewers, Cubs, and the Reds all make the playoffs. How would that be? And of all things, ironically, would leave the Cardinals out, who started the season pretty well. But that's that. Toronto, how about the American League East? You think of Boston, you think of the New York Yankees, even the Tampa Bay Rays. No, it's the Toronto Blue Jays not only leading that, but tied for the second best record in all of baseball with 73-52, 5-game lead over the Red Sox, 5.5-game lead over the Yankees. So let's see, 68-67. Oh, okay. So battle for the wild card spot between the Red Sox and the Yankees and the Mariners in the American League. 68-57 are the Mariners, and that's what the Boston Red Sox are, and the Yankees are a half game back. So fun little race there. You look at the Central Division, Cal Nedrip's favorite team, the Detroit Tigers. And let's see, where's our buddy Rick Bozages? Cleveland, no. Kansas City, no. Minnesota, no. Oh, there they are. Chicago White Sox in the basement. I can't give him grief. And our dear friend Rick, I got to give him a shout out. Man, do I miss him. But so he makes it through and finally retires. And what in the world does he go and do? He gives himself a compound fracture cutting grass. He stumbled and tripped and somehow gave himself a compound fracture of his lower leg, dealing with a lower leg injury. If you want to act like we're a college athletics team, he's dealing with a lower leg injury. That's what they tell you to. The truth, Robert. Jumping on. How are you doing, sir? Absolutely. Hey, I saw some comments earlier. Folks, I think it was Russell said that something about agents are not going to be sending teams to Indiana or something. Oh, it has been said that behind the scenes, agents told IU basketball that in no way they'll send players to Indiana. They view it as a clown show in Bloomington. DeVries has a huge hump to climb. Well, first of all, if Mike Woodson was still here, yeah, I'd buy into that. He's not, so I don't. It's a different deal, man. There's not only is there a totally different regime, everything in IU basketball is different. I mean, there is nothing coming back that is the same, and a lot of people see that as not a great thing, and sometimes I understand that, but sometimes you need to just cut bait and just refire the machine. Indiana basketball needed a reboot. It was time to unplug everything, unplug it from the electric, unplug each piece, and reconnect everything. And in my mind, that's what Indiana finally did on the basketball side of things. They did that for the most part on the football side of things. And football has seen great success with that. I think basketball will also see success. How much success they're going to see right off the bat, I don't know. I really don't. We have to wait and see what the rest of the league is like, have to see what the rest of these teams are like. Everybody has a lot of new faces, every team. And even though now I think teams that they're going to play in the non-con, like Kentucky and Louisville, they're a year ahead of things. And even in this day and age where you don't get that 3 years, 4 years to develop a program like you used to, you don't really need that. But and oftentimes you don't need a year. In this case, I think Indiana will need a year to get in, to really get it going for a couple of reasons. They put that entire team together, and you've got two guys that will be coming back most likely for sure, and Trent Sisley and Alexa Ristic. And then there are the guys that have remaining eligibility. Then you have the many freshman recruits that you are trying to land. And so then there's still going to be a few portal players that Indiana has to pick up. And next year could be, or should be, even a better year yet. But I'm not trying to jump ahead. My point is, for whatever reason, I think that it's going to take Indiana a year to be able to get up into the level of competing for a Big Ten title. I think that they're going to be very competitive this year. I don't know that they're going to be competitive competing for a Big Ten title. I would not go that far. I'm not going to say it's impossible, because it's not. Nothing's impossible. We haven't seen this team play against actual true opposition. We a good look against them, against the Serbs, but still don't know exactly where that team lies. Different people have different thoughts on that. So, but we'll have to wait and see. That comes around and that'll take care of itself. But no matter what, I do tell you that I will say this: Indiana is going to be fun to watch on the basketball side. They are going to upset some people. Now, does that mean they're also possibly going to lose a few games that they shouldn't? Possibly, but this is not a team that's going to lose games like we saw Indiana lose games last year. That Purdue game in West Lafayette, Indiana should have won that game. That was just a horrible decision at the end. The Maryland game, that was another game that horrible decisions. Horrible decisions are not going to happen. Plays may not happen. The shot might not go down, or this may not happen, but it's not going to be because bad decisions are being made. Because it's not going to happen because players don't know what to do. It's not going to happen because players don't have the drive to do what they need to do. It's not going to happen because they haven't been coached. That I can promise you. So that automatically puts them in a much, much better position. So there's that. Just looking through a couple of the comments. Let's see. Nothing that I can see to pull it out. Although Fulton was at the Indianapolis Colts game on Saturday afternoon. Yeah, of course you were, brother. You had that banner unveiled, and we were very, very happy for you to see that happen. There you go. 3 division wins and 3 wild cards advance in Major League Baseball. Okay, well, that changes things. Going back to my talking about the standings earlier. So there's 1, 2, 3 teams currently ahead of the Reds. The Reds are just a half game out, it looks like. Looks like they're a half game behind the Mets for that final wild card spot. So, come on, Reds! They did stop the Milwaukee Brewers. Not only do they have the best record in baseball, they won what, 14 straight until the Reds were able to knock them off with a walk-off single in the 10th. In a game a few days ago. So finally stopped that streak. Not only are they the hottest team in baseball, or the best record in baseball, they had a winning streak of 14 stinking games, man. That's a serious streak in Major League Baseball. And a pretty good one. If we're being honest. The best record in the National League, like in all of baseball, Milwaukee. So, man, we got all kinds of stuff going on today. A little baseball talk, a little everything. It's that kind of year, though. As Daniel says, his Cardinals got swept by the Yankees this weekend. Well, that's never good. Appreciate you, Daniel. I hope you did as well. Hope you had a great weekend. And Jim confirms the Reds are a game and a half behind the Mets. Is that right? 66 and 58, and the Reds are 65, so that's a half game. But they've got a full game loss. There you go. You're right, Jim. Thank you, sir. Always need that. 5 says he sure hopes DeVries doesn't break my heart. It's not going to break my heart. Again, don't confuse my thoughts on things for fandom thoughts. I'm not looking at Indiana basketball through the eyes of a fan, other than I am fairly certain they're going to enjoy watching them play. Nothing is going to break my heart. I hope that they do well. As I always say, it's a hell of a lot more fun to cover a winner than it is covering a loser. Covering Indiana football was tough for a long time. Very tough. You had to look for great things. You had to look for positive things to talk about. So hopefully you don't have to do that again. But yeah, I think that they're going to make. I think that the fans are going to enjoy watching them play. Is my biggest takeaway. Not only that, but they're going to enjoy watching them play because of how hard they're going to play, of the defense they're going to play, of the fact that you're going to see 3-point shots going up and not just going up successfully. You know, if I looked at the stats, and I don't have those in front of me right now, but over the 3 games in Puerto Rico, and I'm just looking for some basic numbers here. Free throw shooting, for example, they pretty much shot right around 79% as a team at all 3 of those games. Now, that's something that definitely carries over. That's not something Indiana has been good at for a long time, shooting, period. So there's an elevation there. Their shooters overall are better, and the 3-point shooting is going to be better. The free throw shooting is going to be better. The field goal shooting will probably be better. My only concern with Indiana is going to be defensively down low when they have guys that, I'm very curious if, of course, you don't run into this in college a lot, but a team that has really big guards. Indiana is not exactly gifted at the guard position in length with Tatum Connerway and Connor Enright, both I'll say normal height. What are they, like 6'1", 6 foot, something like that? But hey, I've got to take a break before I get too caught up. We've got more coming up on the program today. Dustin Dopirak will join us, as will Zach Browning. We'll talk some Indiana football in addition to everything else and anything else that you want to talk about. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle right after these messages.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday. Glad to have you along for the ride. I'm glad that you've taken time to join us as always. Hey, and if you know of anybody, always looking for sponsors for the show. And if you know anyone that owns a business that is sports inclined, or doesn't even have to be, or are you inclined? Doesn't have to be. Colts, Pacers, whatever. Always looking for sponsors for the program. Studio sponsor as well. So we got that going for us. Don't forget the events coming up this weekend. Like I said, or this week, the Never Lose Hoop golf outing is this Thursday at the golf club at Eagle Point. 12th annual Never Lose Hoop golf outing. Man, it's a great event. Working on having certain people show up, and in addition to bring your own team, or you can sign up as a single, and you never know who you might end up playing with. So we've got that going for us. But it's a great. This is about as good a cause as anything. This benefits area families
with kids that have been dealing with cancer. And it is a great thing that JC and Joni Hulls have done for quite some time. And if you can, and you don't even have to play, you can be a donor. Just go to the link, events.golfstatus.com/event/2025 Never Lose Hoop. And you should be able to find it there. Make a donation. Doesn't matter if it's $25, $100. It all is greatly appreciated. And all of the sponsors of that event and the participants as well. So be a part of it. Russell says Archie Miller went on a rant after seeing a producer scouting a game for a storyline. He had him removed from the practices. Is this something recent? And what kind of a producer are we talking about here? And then again, I think that Archie Miller has much, much bigger problems than a producer scouting a game for a storyline. He is, if he was that difficult to scout, he'd probably be a little bit more successful. He's not. So, I mean, I haven't watched his teams play in over 4 years, and I can give you a scouting report right now. Terrible defense, no offensive, no offense. It's very little coaching, no changes, poor adjustments. So, yeah, Brian, that was a big win. We talked about that a little earlier. The Fever, huge win, and they keep winning on the road without Caitlin Clark. That's kind of, it's impressive for their playoff standout. Russell's talking about, let's see, recruiting, I believe. All I'm saying is IU has a one-man class coming in for 2026. Hopefully that will not remain the norm for recruiting. Well, I think that I've said this many times. You're not going to bring in more than probably 3, to be honest with you, freshmen. You just think about that. Unless you're bringing in an impact player, you don't want 3 guys that, unless these are Trent Sisley types or Alexa Ristic, whom are going to be able to contribute immediately. And then again, most of the guys that they are recruiting that they're on the final list for are those types of guys, high level talent. You're still not going to bring in more than 2 or 3. Production over potential in this day and age, especially. I mean, I know that's a stolen line from Kurt Signetti, but it is extraordinarily apropos. Production over potential. You used to be able to wait for the potential to play itself out in a year, maybe 2. You can't afford that anymore. And it's now. You've got to win now. Every year, boom, you've got to put into a team, and especially when you don't know if that guy's going to be here or girl, whatever the case may be. But there's no guarantee unless you have them signed to a multi-year deal. You don't know that they're even going to be here. You've got to re-recruit them. Now, hopefully we can see things after a few years for fans' perspective that you see a less turnover. It will be nice if we get to a point in college athletics where there is less turnover in teams. You're always going to have somebody that's not happy, that thinks that they can get more playing time elsewhere, or think that they deserve more playing time, or they'll get more money. It's pretty simple. But you'd like to see a team that has as little turnover as possible. Purdue is a great example of that. And while that's great for continuity, I'm trying to be careful how I word this because I'm not. Matt Painter is one of the great coaches out there, one of the elder statesmen of the Big Ten, and he is a model of consistency. And although that they did make the championship game a few years ago, that does not happen at all without a force of college basketball that we don't see very often in Mount Edie. And if you couldn't win it with the two-time player of the year, and along with that, a point guard that is going to break all of your records, a group of guys that you had for 4 years, I don't know how Purdue is going to ever win on the national level without going away from that model. Now, I've said that for some time that after this group of guys gets through Purdue, Fletcher Lawyer and Braden Smith and Trey Kaufman-Renn, those, and they may not be the last ones. Caleb First, is he still there? But those three are the three of the guys. That's their. I've had this debate with people. I'm sorry, I don't see Braden Smith as a first-round NBA draft pick. I think he is easily defended by guys that are just more athletic. And we've seen that happen in games where Purdue loses important games. They just get shut down. I think that is still the case. But we'll see. That could be totally wrong. And Purdue could be the team. I don't see it because they don't have. I don't see them having a first round draft pick, period. And if you listen to us, we talk about the importance of that in college basketball. We've got to take a break. We've got more coming up. Dustin Dopirak will join us. Zach Browning as well. Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you on this Monday. Back with more right after this.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday. And as always, so happy to welcome in the great Dustin Dopirak from the Indy Star. How are you, sir? How was your weekend? How is life? How's Maxine? How's the wife?
All good, Jim. Everything's going good. How about you, man? How was Puerto Rico?
It was not long enough, and I was laughing here after I got out of the shower this morning, still getting sand out of my ear. And I was only in the water 2 times.
Yeah, that'll do it. Mm-hmm.
And I actually believe it was from the first time that I was even in the water there. This one beach that I went to was like the last 10 feet of the shores was just sand churned up because they have a lot of rip tides there, rip currents. Yeah. And I think that's what caused that. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm still getting sand out. It's mind-boggling. But other than that, I'm not going to lie. I kind of wish I was still there.
Fair.
I mean, when there's an ocean across the street, behind the buildings, it's
kind of nice.
Not that bad. That bad. You had some wild cocks walking around. It was one of the first things I noticed when I got there. Chickens, roosters. I mean, literally one of the first things I noticed. It was great. But it's very, very cool place. I wish it wasn't quite so far to get to. It's not that bad. If you had a direct flight, it would really be great. It's still not that bad overall. I guess it's easier than getting to than Hawaii. Yeah. So there's that. And you don't lose the time coming home like you do when you go to Hawaii, man.
Yeah.
I was looking at.
I went in 2009. So it's like my first year on the beat. And it was it was weird. Like I'd never, covered like anything in, like I'd covered games in Florida, like I think the James Madison played like 2 games in Orlando one year, like or in a Christmas tournament. Not the same as covering a game in Puerto Rico. I think it was, 3 games in 4 days. In between, they had the bucket game. Basically, I mean, they rented out like like IU, rented out like this like kind of villa beach bar or whatever to and put like a projector for the bucket game. So that was kind of wild. But yeah, like you're walking outside and there's a beach and you're just like, okay, like am I supposed to work? Like how's that supposed to go? And you still end up spending most of the day at the arena, but you get
it is. Or if you're me, just trying to get there.
Sure. Yeah.
Zach reminded me last Friday. These games were played in 2 different arenas. The first one was further out. It was the Guillermo Aguño Coliseum or Coliseo de I can say it's correctly. And the other one was Roberto Clemente.
Right.
Somehow on the second game when I had already looked up in my maps Uber where Roberto was, and so they were right next to each other, the Coliseums on my previous lookup. Somehow accidentally hit the first one for the second game, which the second game was closer, but I went all the way out to that stinking arena, and then my God, I was so mad and was late getting there. And it's just that's never happened to me before, and it happened on the getting out of there. The Uber driver said, "Oh, you gave me the wrong address." I didn't even give you an address. I just punched it in where I am. But it's but fun times. It was definitely worth going. And for the fans, I know that it was like a $3,500 deal but let me tell you, that's not just game tickets and flight and a hotel.
Right.
That is, and this event more than any in the future, probably one of the greatest opportunities to get one-on-one time with players, with coaches. I mean, and by that, I just mean, in an informal setting. And this coaching staff is very amenable to that. I truly believe that Darren DeVries knew almost everybody that was on that trip, at least by face, by the time they were done with that trip. And I mean that because they did a lot of the things together that they would do on the off days.
Sure. Yeah. I even saw like he shook everybody's hand who came. I saw like there was
last game, they went over there and they went all the way down. The players did it first, actually, and then he did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really cool. No, I mean, it seems like they absolutely got the most out of this that they could possibly ask for. Like I think it makes sense to go out of your way to introduce yourself with being this team what it is. It's an entire flip, which is it's still amazing that it's a thing. Like, I mean, I know this is more possible now, given where college basketball stands, but it's still remarkable to say like you have a completely new team of guys, that there is no holdover whatsoever. And so I thought it was interesting. It's just, it's all these guys, all these transfers, all these freshmen, etc. I mean, he's literally going out and just introducing, like this team to the people. And this was its introduction. This was the first time anybody can see them, first time anybody has any sense of what they're going to be like. And so it makes sense for them to go out and sort of just not forcibly, but like intentionally create a connection, because you haven't had the opportunity to have one yet. So, do whatever it takes to make it happen. And if anyone's going to come down to Puerto Rico to see a bunch of guys they've never seen before, you might as well just personally introduce yourselves. And so, I thought that was interesting. And obviously, certainly the way the games went, you couldn't ask for anything better than this. The comebacks, just these guys being forced to figure out ways to win games they're trailing by a lot. Really helpful stuff. Like, I mean, you couldn't get a lot better than that in the middle of August.
Adam, right before you joined, I was talking about Purdue, and he says it cracks me up, but Jim talks Purdue. He never knows who's on the team and puts them down for losing a national title. Well, they didn't win one, so you can't lose one if you didn't win it. But no, that's not the case. I know who's on their team: Fletcher Lawyer, Braden Smith, Trey Kaufman-Renn. You got the new kid from is he from Israel? Omar Mayer.
Oh, yeah.
And they've got probably the best freshman in or is he next year? The kid, I think he's next year. He's coming next year. Maybe the best player in the state of Indiana. I'm blanking on his name right now, but no, I have a pretty good indication of who is on Purdue's team. They're going to be
Luke Ertl.
Luke Ertl. Yes. Just phenomenal player. Another great get. Just a typical Indiana type of high school player, man. But no, I was just saying that I don't see Purdue winning a national championship this year, even though as they're going to be one of the favorites up there all year long, because they don't I don't believe they have a first round draft pick on their team. I personally don't think Braden Smith is a first round draft pick. Could be wrong, and we'll find out. But I just don't see that. And without that, proof shows you, history shows you, you cannot win a national championship. And if you can't do it when you have the two-time player of the year, Zach Edey, with these same players, I don't know how you're going to do it without Zach Edey.
Well, you don't have to play UConn again, though. You don't have to play that UConn team.
There is that.
Yeah, I mean that makes a difference. I mean, certainly, like all of this is situational. I mean, there's for years and years you could look back and say, well, this team could have won it that year, but it couldn't win it the year that it had to. There's always a buzzsaw you run into. I mean, certainly you have to look at it and say, well, he's after you, man. He's after you.
I don't know how I proved his point. I tried to, dispute it a little bit, but hey, I've said all along that Michigan and Purdue are going to be the two favorites in the Big Ten. They're the two teams that we know what has the most about as far as the talent that they have, and Matt Painter is him and Tom Izzo are probably right now you'd have to say the two best coaches in the Big Ten. Dusty May, I'm going to put Dusty May up there. I love what Dusty May did at Michigan, and he'll get a chance to prove it again. He's got to come back and do it again, but Michigan's one of the favorites, so I think he's going to be in fine shape. But I just look at things in black and white, Adam. It's not anything other than I just see things how I see them. You haven't heard me saying that Indiana's going to do this or do that, and even including this year, I'm like going, no idea.
where they're really going to flesh out. Although in watching the games I watched them play, I think that they'll match up better with a Purdue than they might against Michigan because of Michigan's different type of talent. They may be have more length. They may have more length at shooting. I don't know exactly yet. We'll see. It's going to be interesting, but no, Purdue gets to go in as the incumbent favorite and until that changes. But I'm going to be interesting to see what Purdue's recruiting efforts look like after this crew gets out, because they've been fortunate. They're maybe the only college program that has been able to hold on to a core group of players this deep into the modern era now, where we are with transfers and all that. And that in and of itself is amazing that you've been able to keep your team together, the core of your team together. So,
yeah, no, I think I got to watch Painter up close for a couple seasons, and it's really impressive because it's so simple. It's so, it's like one of those things where it's like, I guess this game can drive you crazy. I mean, I think when you're around coaches, especially when you see them come in and then you see them a couple of years later, you're like, this game drove you nuts, because it does. It's a round the clock job. And anything can happen to derail it, and just like you're pursuing a national championship in a league, a league where it's a single elimination tournament. Like, you have one bad day, and that can ruin years of preparation, years. And so like, you're chasing these kids, you're going to AAU tournaments, and I know it's not AAU, but you know what I mean, shoe company tournaments, and
I don't even know what to call it anymore. I just call it grassroots. I don't know.
Grassroots is probably the word, because it's not AAU. The Amateur Athletic Union has nothing to do with it. Hasn't had anything to do with it. But there are AAU tournaments, actual AAU, but that's not what we're talking about. EYBL, etc. And so you're running around to these all the time. For years you were banking on 15, 16-year-old kids, and now you still have to recruit those guys, but then you actually have to re-recruit your whole team and all that. So this game can drive you nuts. Matt Painter is really good at not being driven crazy. I mean, he's just a remarkably normal person. And I think the guys who, the guys he recruits, basically, he looks for guys who fit him. He actually has like a personality test that he does. Dana O'Neill did a really good story on that before I joined the Athletic, about just, what that entails, basically, just to sort of see if he fits. And I don't know what all goes into it, but basically it's like, all right, like, just watching them and seeing how they function the years I did, it was just like, you have to be able to take sarcasm. Like, that's how it's going to go. Like, you have to be able to give it and take it. And, if you can do that, you'll be fine. Like, if you can make fun of each other and be okay that he's making fun of you, then you're going to be all right. And, it's like, he's still going to stay invested in you. And shoot, like, if it's not going to work out for you, like, if you're a player that's just not going to make the rotation, like, he'll find a good spot for you, like, as well. I mean, there's certainly been guys that he's had that have been like, hey man, not going to work. Going to be honest with you. I'm going to go find you a spot in, North Florida or whatever, like, I'm trying to even think of Jacksonville or something like that, like, we'll find you a place that makes more sense. And, he's just been honest with guys. And so that leads to guys staying, because they're like, I mean, if I went and played for Matt Painter, I'd be like, I don't know when I'm going to find this anywhere else. Like, I haven't been around a guy like him, because he's just normal. And you're like, it's like, okay, like, I came to play for a normal coach, and I don't know what I'm going to get if I go back out in the market. Like, this.
There's no doubt he is as good a guy. I mean, he's a guy that you're going to meet, and and I think that carries over into his coaching. His players know what they're going to get.
Yeah, it leads to retention. I mean, he is going to be playing a different game than everybody else. But like, I haven't followed it closely enough to say how they're doing NIL wise, but generally Purdue, when it comes to money things, tends to be behind. But
it hasn't mattered. It hasn't mattered on the basketball court, with the exception of, nationally, they're still chasing that elusive title. But overall, and as far as the Big Ten Conference goes, hasn't phased them a bit.
Yeah, no, I mean, it hasn't held them back at all. But like, long term, you could see some issues. But again, he's also good at identifying guys, and I mean, like he's going to be ahead of the curve when it comes to international recruiting. Certainly we've talked about this as a thing that's become more of a thing. Now there's NIL. There's a lot of players from Europe and elsewhere that are going to want to come to the United States that might not have otherwise, because they were already playing professional in the first place. They might just go straight to the NBA or just stay in, European professional basketball and never bother to, come over and try the United States. There's a lot more people that are going to be likely to come in and dip their toe into the NIL, pool, guys that, don't intend or guys that might not be NBA players, guys that might be NBA players, anything across the board, and Painter's going to be the sort of guy that's going to do well with that. Painter's really good at just identifying guys because Painter knows what he wants. I mean, that's kind of the biggest thing that I think he's come to over time. I mean, like he's had to adjust over years, but I remember when I covered him, so I covered the Elite Eight team with Carson Edwards and whatnot. And he said, hey, he at that point decided like, I'm going to go recruit guys who do stuff. I'm not recruiting. He's like, for a while, I felt like, when they got really good and with the baby boilers with, Hummel and Jawan Johnson and each one more and those guys, he's like, okay, like now I'm established. Now I'm going to go get the best players in the state. I'm going to go, shoot for these, 5-star recruits, put together a team that just didn't end up being very good. And he's like, you know what, actually what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go recruit guys who do what I want them to do. I'm going to go get the best shooter in the Midwest. Like I'll be willing to take guys who are skilled over guys who are big time athletes. It's not going to be as much as projectability as it is going to be about getting players who, shoot, pass, dribble, defend, and he had some years where he didn't necessarily have a good enough athletes and a really good defender. And that's where those Jaden Ivey teams kind of ran aground. And so, I thought Lance Moore was a huge get that he got. Lance Jones, I'm sorry. Just really good two-way wing. And that's what got him the championship game. So, like he's just kind of ahead of the game by keeping it simple. And that's, I think, going to allow him to stick, to maintain a level of competitiveness in the new NIL world, because he knows what he wants. He knows what he's looking for. He's able to convey that. And he's able to tell somebody, hey, like, this is what you're going to get. Like, I'm not going to lie to you, like, I'm not going to tell you that, I'm going to tell you exactly what I think you can do here. And I think if you do this, we can win. And if you win, you'll get some money. There you go. Like that's Matt Painter. That's Matt Painter's pitch. Like, you're not being BS with Matt Painter. And so, I'm sure that, the NIL world has made for guys hearing even more BS than they already were. So, like I imagine Matt Painter is just as refreshing now as he was then.
Without question. And he's a guy that most people would love to play for, to be honest with you. I mean, he's great with the media as well.
Oh, yeah. No, so, I mean, yeah.
But speaking of all this, the Big Ten itself needs to, they've got it together in football, kind of. They've won the last two with a caveat, national championships, but for one thing, I was going to ask is, well, I'll wait till we go into another segment, especially with you, because it's Penn State. But boy, basketball, they've got to do something in basketball. Not only has the SEC caught and passed the Big Ten, but it was like the Big Ten was kind of standing still. They've been in this stuck in the mud, not won a national title since 2000. They have had some Final Four teams, but not really been. It's not like they've had a team that was upset that you thought was going to win it.
You did. Indiana 2013.
Oh well.
There's a few. Everybody was kind of on that scale.
Bad coaching right there.
I'm not going to dissect Tom Crean right now.
Well, I'm not either. But
I mean, it's good coaching and bad coaching. I mean, the thing about
you can't change the offense for your team the night before you play Syracuse.
I don't think he changed the offense. He didn't change the offense. The issue, I don't know. I've always got the impression
that's what I was told from someone very close.
Okay.
To the person.
I didn't know they changed anything. I mean,
maybe, and by change, maybe it was changes. Maybe it was the kind of changes that too late.
Sure. I mean, you're playing
implement.
basic zone. I mean, the one thing I'll say is what stands out to me, and I've made a point to rewatch that to some extent, is that what stands out to me is not that they're not going in the right places. It's that they're not moving fast enough. You know, if you go back and watch that game, they look beat, they look exhausted. And so it's like, okay, well, what would have caused that? You know, I mean, like that, I think there was just a general level of exhaustion. And so it's like, okay, like was that tactically, you know, something that went wrong there? Maybe, but you know, more they were more dead leg than they were not going the right spot. Like, you know, they were flashing the middle, they were cutting baseline, you know, they were doing the things that you're supposed to do to get the ball in the middle against the zone. They just weren't doing it very quickly. They were doing it like a team that was carrying heavy legs. And you know, there's broader mistakes that go into that, but I don't think it's like Tom Crean doesn't know how to coach zone against zone. He does. Like, Tom Crean's not an idiot. Watch Tom Crean on TV. Like, he's not an idiot. You know, like anybody who's ever think Tom Crean's an idiot, I promise he's not. You know,
these guys know.
Yeah,
there's some
these guys.
not always as good as others.
Like he is a lot smarter than people give him credit for. He's just a lot. You know, I think sometimes he gets into his own head too much. Yeah,
or maybe overthinks things too much. But
right. I mean, we could be there all day.
That loss.
Tom is way. If you ever think that the reason that didn't work is because Tom's dumb, I promise you, Tom's not dumb. I promise.
And IU basketball not being able to come through in 2013 to not only win a national championship, what that would have done for Indiana, would have done for Tom Crean, would have done for the Big Ten. It would have gotten this, you know, Albert anchor off of their neck, that is now going on 25 years, a quarter of a century, which is crazy to think about when you talk about one of the great basketball conferences of all time. But things change, and boy, you want to talk about changing. SEC, boy, they've adopted and adapted, and they've gotten there. Hey, we've got to take a break. The great Dustin Dopirak is with us. When we come back, I want to ask him about his alma mater, Penn State. Can they win it all under James Franklin? Mercy. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle right after these messages.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC. Local lives here.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. When it comes to apparel and promotions, FreeThink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, here on this Monday, getting your week started off right. We're in the penultimate week of college football fall camp for most programs, as week 1 begins 2 weeks from this past Saturday. There's very few week 0 games this year. Dustin, I think people are finally running their course with the diet of week 0 games. No more 0-calorie football. It's just not been that great. But
yeah, I mean, you have these what you call it, neutral site games. You got an Ireland game. Iowa State and Kansas State is a weird Iowa game, or a weird Ireland game for sure. Notre Dame Navy makes a whole lot more sense because obviously Notre Dame has a connection out there. But that's still a nice looking game. Like Iowa State and Kansas State. Like it's very, very random. Like you wouldn't think of two kind of plains, ancestral Big 12 teams being out there. But I don't know. That's a fun game. But yeah, other than that, you don't have a whole lot. You got a Hawaii game because if you're Hawaii, you got to take advantage of some of those opportunities to be on TV, whatnot. And it fits for other teams. Kind of take a week off after that, where everybody else is playing. But yeah, no, not a ton, but a couple. A couple interesting games. It's got enough to get you through your Saturday. You get your Iowa State, Kansas State at noon, Fresno State, Kansas on Fox at 6:30. You got a 7:30 Stanford, Hawaii. It wets the beak a little bit. Reminds you of football. It's like almost like you just even haven't even seen it in a while. You're like, I got to remind yourself what football is.
Hey, I know. We've got these preseason games, which are it's a little something, I guess.
Yeah,
but not quite. But and then even though when Indiana starts, they've got those first 3 games that I think the toughest game they have is the first one, and then the second one is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the second one is Kennesaw State, and then you got Indiana State, which, man, they're as close to an FCS team that's not an FCS team as there is, and they should really consider dropping down, I think, to FCS football if they're not already.
I think they always have been.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. I'm reminding myself.
See, it's hard to tell when they play Division I basketball.
I was pretty certain that they were FCS. Yeah, they're FCS. Yeah, you're good.
I don't think any FBS team should be allowed to play an FCS team. Period.
I don't hate it. I get it. I mean, it's one of those things where like all of this stuff comes back to money when it comes to these buy games. And
I mean, you can find crappy Division I teams.
But you can also, I mean, like, I don't think it's a bad thing for it when you're a big program, when you're the Big Ten and the SEC, whatever. Like, some of the decisions you make as far as buy games that you're going to give is saying, where do I want my money to go? Who do I want to have it now? And I think there was always something to be said for, like keeping it in state. If you're going to play an FCS team, play an in-state FCS team. Like move that money around. It's not a bad thing. Like there's good for you out of that. I mean, shoot, like Indiana State might have some guys you want long term. Like throw some money their way to develop them. That's not the worst thing.
Well, and keep it in the state. I mean, Ball State, I know they end up playing Ball State, and there is something to be said for taking care of state teams because that's a moneymaker for them. Let's be honest.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is their Super Bowl. And like, obviously they're not going to beat you, but they have an opportunity to put some stuff on film. And, again, the transfer situation being what it is, like these opportunities are the sort of things that you can do and, like show that you can play against an FBS opponent and, show that on film. And then that's what you take when you enter the portal, after 3 years, maybe after you do 4 years and get your degree and you want to try to be an FBS player in your 5th year. You go show, hey, this is what I did against FBS teams. This is me looking like I belong on that field. That sort of stuff. It doesn't bother me because it's like, okay, like if you're going to get a low, what's really the difference between playing, Kennesaw State and, Indiana State? Like in most cases, you're way ahead of them. Now, obviously, every once in a while you play an Appalachian or somebody like that. And, certainly when they were an FCS team, they did beat, Michigan. They were still owning the FCS at that time. I mean, I remember I was covering James Madison basketball and helping out on James Madison football at the time. And like JMU Appy State was a game. I mean, they played the
Hey, App State became a game once they upset Michigan about
Monty
a decade
Moore
ago.
That guy was phenomenal. Their quarterback was incredible. And that was, there's good football in the FCS, man. I mean, there is. You watch it up close. It's, they're producing NFL guys. And so,
so
it's worth it. I mean, it's not a bad idea for Indiana. If Indiana is going to play FCS games, if they're, I'm going to be a contrarian and said they still should have played the,
Virginia game. They should have played the Louisville game, if you want my opinion, because I think they would have won both games. Well, I know they would have.
Oh, probably. Louisville's different because at least you were going. Like I understood Louisville. Like you were going in with a new head coach. Like I think basically there are arguments that make sense against Indiana's schedule this year that didn't make sense last year because like you didn't think Kurt Cignetti was going to do that. Like if you're Indiana football, again, you have to remember that the last time you had a completely new coach that you hired off, not off the street, but hired outside the program, his first season was 1-11. So like, why would you think that it would be, you wouldn't need to do some things schedule wise to help him. But since that guy went out and won, 10 games and, went to the college football playoff, like your second season, you should coaches, schedule as if, you need to prove yourself as a playoff team and that you deserve in that conversation. But bottom line, if they're going to play, like Indiana State isn't more of an issue. I don't think they're playing Kennesaw State. Old Dominion, I mean, I don't know how good they were last year. I'd have to look it up, but like Old Dominion's there's talent down there. And, in that Norfolk area and like Tidewater area. And so like, those guys can be a challenge sometimes when they put enough together, they can be a problem.
Yeah. And so
they're coming off 5-7, 6-7 the last 2 years. So,
all right. Now Penn State is looking to be the favorite in the Big Ten this year. They are one of the favorites to win the national championship. We don't really know who is a favorite, to be honest with you, until we get deep into the season, 5 weeks into the season to really start to get a look at somebody, maybe even 6, because like Indiana will have played their third game by then. I mean, third real game by then. They will have played Illinois, Iowa, and Oregon. We're going to know what Indiana's trajectory probably is. If they can go 5-0 in those first 5 games, they have a outstanding chance of returning to the college football playoffs.
Sure.
If they go 5-1 or 4-1 in that first stretch before they get to that Oregon game, boy, that's going to put the onus on them. They're going to have to win at Oregon or at Penn State. And but Penn State, the team, could they become the third different Big Ten team to win the national championship in as many years? Although if you're still counting Michigan, although I have a hard time doing that, especially with what just came out, which we already knew most of this stuff. And it's how they can't take away a national championship. I know it's the NCAA is coming down with infractions, but it's the college football playoff, which is different. But why isn't there, if you're breaking rules, if you have coaches that are being suspended for the 4th straight freaking year, if you've got coaches that have a nearly decade show cause penalty now, if you're being fined millions and millions of dollars, but they can't take away the national championship. Yeah, okay. All you're cheating, we're going to punish you in this way, but we're not going to take away what you cheated to get. Does that, how much does that really, I mean, I know the money hurts in this day and age, but man, I don't know. Is it enough to dissuade people?
I mean, I don't think, like, I don't know that anybody really views it that way. I don't know. It's always, I think, been a weird deal whenever they've done whenever they've vacated something.
I do hate the vacated wins.
Like, I don't think, like anybody is like, well, it happened. You know, I mean, I think people, I think there is
Louisville's 2013 national championship that they did take away.
Right. But does anybody like, I guess the thing about it is like, okay, like you can't hang the banner, but does anybody feel like they didn't really win it? You know,
Nope.
like it's just like, okay, nope. That's been a thing. Like, certainly is a thing that happens in college sports. It doesn't happen in professional sports. Like nobody's vacating the 2017 World Series for the Houston Astros. You know, like no one does that. No one vacates, you know, the 1919 American League Championship for the Chicago White Sox. You know, like it's like, yeah, like I get the idea, you know, Rudy's argument here, like, but I mean, I don't know, you can give the trophy back, but like, sure, you know, but like nobody thinks that they didn't win the championship. I mean, everyone might think they cheat to win it, but they also might say, well, you know, this counts and this count, you know, like, you know, like maybe they did this, but that doesn't mean this player didn't do that, you know, like
well, the thing is about this particular one is they were cheating to win games, and their cheating led to wins, which led to a national championship.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, but it's stuff like, especially when it comes to ineligible players, you know, like they cheated to get that guy or cheated to keep that guy. And, you know, like that guy shouldn't have been there, you know? And so it's the same argument, you know, whatever it is, it's like, well, you would not have won it if you lost this or you lost that and you cheated to get this or you cheated to get that. But I still think people, you know, like the players, the coaches, the teams, but also the fans, one way or the other, are, you know, generally tend to look at it as, yeah, but it still happened, you know, like they still won. You know, it's the same reason why, you know, nobody's, you know, actively pursued putting any kind of actual asterisk on, you know, like the home run records, you know, like that was pretty clear, you know, like seems to be a lot of evidence that those were cheated to achieve. It's like, okay, well, you know, like Barry Bonds still has the home run record, you know, single season and, you know, career. Nobody is sort of trying to, like, you might in your own mind, and I in my own mind don't feel like that was achieved fairly. But you know, you're not replaying those games. You know, you're not taking a home run off the board for every, you know, one that Bonds hit out in those 5 years when he was pretty much bionic. So I think I understand your point, but I think like I don't know that people view that as the same type of punishment anyway. And because I think people are just like, yeah, but like not really, like it happened, you know, like I saw it.
Yeah,
you know?
it's a difficult thing because you're punishing people that may not have had something to do with it, and
yeah, and then you're moving on. And it's a question of like you're not allowed to hang a banner or you're not allowed to keep a trophy or whatever. But like, you know, those guys always feel like they won it, and everybody that got beat by him feels like they got beat. You know, like, I mean, I don't know if they feel like, oh, well, if, you know, they didn't have these signs, we'd have beat them. I don't know, you know, like, I legitimately do not know if it would have made a difference. That's for me not following it closely enough to say like, okay, like, were they better at this or better at that because they knew it was coming? I mean, certainly possible, you know, I mean, they say that about the Astros sign stealing scandal all the time. Like if you know what pitch is coming, you know, like that makes you a dramatically better hitter. And so it's like, okay, if you know what play is coming, you got a better chance of reading it. But on the flip side, sometimes it's like, all right, sometimes you can be so good it doesn't matter if they know exactly what play you're gonna run every time because you can't stop it. So I don't know. Yeah, like that's not always the case. You know, like that's a weird thing, but like there are guys. I mean, like Jim Harbaugh strikes me as one of those people that's paranoid going after every edge. In retrospect, yeah. I mean, they obviously did it, you know, thinking they would have made a difference. Like, would it have made a difference? I don't know. You know, that's a pretty good team. So I guess the thing of it is like I get the logic, you know, but like I don't know that stuff is as punitive as it comes off. Like I like it almost makes everybody else feel better, you know. But it doesn't necessarily. You know, the guys that won it don't feel like they didn't win it. The guys that got beat by him don't feel like they did win it. Like, you know, Washington isn't going to feel like they won the national championship.
No, you're not. Nothing's going to change that. So, last thing,
you asked about Penn State?
Do they win it with James Franklin?
I mean,
although we've got a whole season, we haven't even gotten to the first week yet. But
yeah, no, I mean, I think I would like to think that Franklin shook off some of the not naysayers or whatever. I mean, I get the rip, like I'm not anti-Franklin. Like, I mean, let's remember here, like Penn State was in a bad place, was in a very bad place for very, 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 very bad reasons. The worst possible reasons that anybody could possibly dream of. So getting a team back to the place within a decade, of when it was even that it's been even talking about national championship, that it's been even in the ballpark, considering, what happened to that program, shoot, like you would talk about penalties, I mean, that probably should have been worse, considering, what went down, they certainly managed to respond. And so, Penn State's like, for what everyone complains about, Franklin can't win the big game. I mean, like James Franklin is among the people that Penn State owes eternal gratitude for just getting the old stuff out of the discussion, and being able to win again. So, not gonna tolerate a whole lot of James Franklin slander, I guess, in terms of just, hey man, guy got him back to where Penn State football feels like a normal thing again. So that goes a long way. But I think they have a super talented team. I mean, I don't know that they're going to beat Texas. I mean, I think Ohio State obviously sent a lot of players to the NFL, and so but still has Jeremiah Smith, still has I got to see him beat Ohio State before I believe it's going to happen. I just sort of presume that they're losing that game until they don't. But I mean, there's a lot of talent, obviously, guys they've been able to trust for a long time. I mean, I'm going to need to see Drew Allar take the leap. I mean, he was good last year, but I never was like, this guy's, get him on my NFL team right now. I don't necessarily look at Drew Allar and say like he needs to be the Steelers quarterback. Like this has to happen. I've seen enough where I'm like, he's okay. He's pretty good, but I don't necessarily say he might be an All-American, but I don't know if he's a top 10 NFL draft pick and, guy that you can trust to, put your NFL franchise on. But, they have nice pieces, certainly have Singleton and Kaytron Allen for a long time. They've got terrific pieces on defense. I mean, defense, they look just absolutely fantastic. Zane Durant back. Danny Dennis Sutton is a guy I really like. Tony Rojas, nice player. That most of the whole secondaries back. Zion Tracy's a heck of a player. They've got some really talented guys on defense. I mean, they've got 3 new wide receivers on offense. They had to go get 3 transfers because they didn't really get a lot of production from that position at all last year. And you got to be able, you got to have wide receiver production. Like they had, Tyler Warren carried a lot of that, last year, and you lose him as a, top 20 pick, the Colts. And so, they have to find a way to figure out where they get all that offensive production back. They have a lot, but, there's certainly, I think are some areas where you can look at and say, I'm not so sure. And you're just going to yes, do I need to see that he can win the big game? Yeah. But I mean, he won some big games, he won a couple playoff games last year. Granted, it was against SMU and Boise State, but Boise State had the best running back in the country. So that was no joke. Beating that guy, that guy's going to make a lot of money playing football. He's going to be, Ashton G is going to be something else in the NFL, I think. So, yeah. Bottom line, I mean, can they? Yeah. I mean, do I look at it and say, I think I saw, Audrey Snyder's old colleague of mine is tremendous. I think she wrote she had a story on her, I think she's on Substack now. And I think she wrote a piece basically saying all right, are you as a fan looking at this and feeling the hype is too much? I think if you're a Penn State fan, you're being like, I don't like being talked about like this. It's been a while since anyone talked Penn State national championship. And it's like, this feels like hype that's going to crash. But it's going to be a really good team. I mean, I'd be really surprised if they're not a playoff team. And, once you get in the tournament, you got a shot.
Appreciate you, my friend. Zach Browning coming up next. Dustin Dopirak from the Indy Star. Make sure you're giving him a follow. Appreciate you, brother. Have a great week.
Appreciate you, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We've got Zach Browning up next.
here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemooreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday, getting things started for you. Zach Browning, the Hoosier.com football reporter with us, and Signetti has a press conference coming up today. And we're in the penultimate week of fall camp, Zach. Next week will another week, but it will probably be kind of winding down, putting in game prep, things like that. This is the last week of pure fall camp.
Yeah, this is the last week of official fall camp. Next week is, I guess you would label it as game week, and a typical game week for Indiana. So this is the last week of fall camp. They've got 2 more official practices left, Monday and Thursday. We'll talk to Kirsten today, and we'll talk to a handful of players on Thursday as well. But it's the fine-tuning stage. I mean, Jim, we're 2 weeks away, less than 2 weeks away now from the opener against Old Dominion. This is the fine-tuning stage. There's not really anything that's going to be installed these last couple of weeks. It's pretty much just fine-tuning everything, making sure everyone's on the same page, getting everything as far as the playbook, everybody on the same page on that front too. But it's getting close, Jim. We're only 2 weeks away.
Yeah, and not only that, they're going to open up with it's Old Dominion. I get it, but Old Dominion is not Indiana State. This is probably the toughest of their 3 non-con games that they're going to play, I think, as far as talent-wise. But just having everything run as it's supposed to run, eliminating mistakes, which are probably going to happen in these early game or first game or so, but that is what has to be eliminated first and foremost. And then you've got to get to where you're doing things much smoother, much faster, without thinking, all those things that go into it.
Yeah, this is a situation where if you look at the first 3 weeks, Indiana has those 3 bye games. That's obvious. But this is a team under Kurt Signetti that doesn't necessarily play down or up to their opponent. They play as themselves, no matter who the opponent really is. And I think that's what Indiana kind of has going for it, entering week 1 and entering the first 3 weeks of the season, really. If you look back to last year, even against Western Illinois, that was 77 to 6, I believe. Indiana's not one to play down to their opponents. We've seen a situation where Kurt Signetti will actively be upset if his team allows the other team. Like last year against Western Illinois, he was actively upset when Western Illinois got those field goals on the board. He is a guy that wants perfection and expects perfection. If he believes his team is that much better than the other team, he expects them to show that on the field. So we'll see what kind of mindset Indiana comes out with. I expect Indiana to come out with a a mindset trying to avoid complacency and avoid trying to kind of play down to Old Dominion, because Indiana is obviously the more talented team in week 1, 2, and 3. So we'll see what that kind of leads to on the field. But if I was to if I was to think what Kirstenetti's team would look like, I don't think Kirstenetti's going to let his team come out there against Old Dominion and kind of play with their food, so to speak.
No, and the beginning of conversations will start at the same place on both sides of the ball up front. The offensive line, much been talked about with Indiana, revamping that, adding to it, getting Drew Evans back, adding Pat Coogan, Zen Mikowski from Ohio State, the tight end, drawing a blank on his name, but you know who I'm talking about. So they've added some pieces here where they probably need, in addition to, and Roman Hemby, I think gets overlooked. He was an all Big Ten running back, and that's in Indiana's backfield, in addition to Elijah Surratt and Omar Cooper Jr. and E.J. Williams and Fernando Mendoza, and in addition to Leo Beebe and daggone Indiana's other running back, Green.
Kalon Black.
Kalon Black, rather. There's too many names popping out all of a sudden. Bam, bam, bam. I think they have a better offense than they did last year, personally.
Yeah, I think that's probably the general consensus that this year's Indiana team, offensively and defensively, probably is straight up just more talented. I mean, Curtis Rourke, talent is different from production. Obviously, Curtis Rourke did what he did last year on one ACL, and whether he's more talented or not than Fernando Mendoza has perhaps the most talent of any quarterback in the entire country, specifically with his arm. He's got the legs as well. You look at the running backs, you bring up Roman Hemby. Kalon Black is a guy that's been in Kirstenetti's system for a while. Lee Beebe had plenty of talent. He was a former walk-on at UAB, earned a scholarship, and now is playing at the Big Ten level at Indiana with the team that just made it to the college football playoff last year. You bring up Elijah Surratt. I've seen, whether it's Pro Football Focus, whether it's kind of these random kind of podcasts, random blog websites, I've seen Elijah Surratt ranked as high as the number 4 receiver in the entire country. There was a list I saw last night. It was Jeremiah Smith 1, USC receiver Jordan Tyson 2, Ryan Williams 3, and then Elijah Surratt. That's how talented and how good Elijah Surratt is. He is one of the top receivers in the entire country. And then you add to that guys like Omar Cooper, guys like E.J. Williams. We all know the talent E.J. Williams has. It's just a matter of, can he stay healthy? Tight end room, what can you get out of Riley Nowakowski and Holden Stays? The offensive line, there's 6 guys really, if you add Khalil Benson, who's been starting a little bit and rotating in throughout fall camp. And Indiana realistically has 6 offensive linemen that have played legitimate power conference football, and some at Notre Dame for a national championship, some at Ohio State. He was a national championship in Mahalski last year. Then defensively, it's just uber talented as well. This Indiana team on paper is more talented than last year's group. It's just a matter of this year's schedule being slightly harder. And, can you get the same production and same week in, week out kind of production from those guys that are maybe slightly and probably slightly more talented than the group last year?
And then, of course, on the other side of the ball, the defensive line, where Indiana was stellar last year, giving up the least amount of running yards in the country, I believe, at under 90 yards per game. That's going to be tough to match. But you've got some great pieces back, of course. You've got Mikael Kamara, the All-American, on the line, and behind them you've got Aiden Fisher at linebacker. But they've added some pieces, but did they add enough to stay at that same level?
It's difficult because that's a high level, obviously, to get back to. It's difficult to ask a team to go back and repeat as the number 1 or number 2 overall defense in the country statistically. That's just difficult to ask of any team, let alone a team that had a fair amount of turnover, especially in that front 7. You look at that defensive line, Indiana's going to be asking a lot out of some transfers from some guys that hasn't necessarily played a lot of power conference football. You look at Hosea Wheeler. He didn't play much power. He hasn't played any power conference football coming in. Dominique Ratcliffe, Tyreek Tucker, he had a little bit of experience last year. But Mikael Kamara is really the only guy along that defensive front that you point to and say, yeah, that's a proven power conference Big Ten level defensive linemen. You look at the linebacking room, really, it's just Aiden Fisher. Elijah Hardy had sports last year, and by all accounts, Indiana and everybody around the program is expecting for Elijah Hardy to be awesome this year, just as he showed in spurts last year, but he still realistically hasn't proved it on a week-in, week-out basis at the Big Ten level. In the secondary, you've got a little bit more experience there. There's some more veteran guys there. Obviously, D'Angelo Pons might be one of, if not the best cornerbacks in all of the country. Probably going to be a first-round pick when his time comes. But you've got other veterans there. Devon Boykin from NC State. He's got power conference experience. Obviously, Lou Moore with IU. Then at Ole Miss, now back. We'll see how that eligibility kind of shakes out there. But if he is deemed eligible, he's got plenty of experience there. Jamari Sharp obviously played in Indiana last year. So if you were to – and it's interesting because last year this wasn't really the case. Last year there wasn't really a weakness on the Indiana defense, but if you had to point one out, it probably would be that secondary. This year, that probably isn't the case. The secondary's got plenty of experience. They've got plenty of power conference experience. They've got plenty of talent. Realistically, this year, if you're looking at a weakness, and again, we're picking at straws here. This is an Indiana defense that could likely repeat as one of the top defenses in the country this year, statistically and just via the eye test. But you look at the linebacker room, do you have the depth there beyond Aiden Fisher and maybe your Elijah Hardy, Isaiah Jones? Defensive line, you've got Mikhail Kamara. He's going to be an All-American again, but Stephen Daly on the other outside end spot. Dominique Ratcliffe, Tyreek Tucker, Hosea Wheeler, what do you get out of them? Can they match what CJ West and James Carpenter gave you last year? There's some question marks on the defense, but again, this is a defense. We're grasping at straws here. This is a unit that looks on paper like it's going to be one of the better units in the country once again.
Well, we'll certainly find out, and that's going to be key to Indiana being able to do what fans are hoping they can do and have a repeat performance of last year. But a big part of that, of course, they had a great offense, but they had a great defense. I don't know which was better. I'm going to have to go with the defense was better because the defensive line was great. I mean, think of all the guys that they lost, CJ West, James Carpenter, Linnell Carr Jr., Magnum Farrar. They lost some serious talent, man. And one of those to CJ West with the 49ers and James Carpenter, the Jaguars. So that is serious talent. Hopefully they've been able to replace that, but Brian Haynes has done a superb job in managing that through this. And he did a superb job in bringing those guys and managing them from James Madison to Indiana into the Big Ten.
Well, that's the thing. Anytime you keep your best three players defensively, you expect those guys to get incrementally better as their career goes on. So as good as Aiden Fisher, Mikhail Kamara, and D'Angelo Pons were last year, you do expect even more growth out of them this year and really kind of hit that next step of All-American, like top defensive players at the respective positions in the countries. But you bring up a good point. I don't think the defense gets enough recognition from last season. Obviously, the offense, second leading scoring offense in the country behind Miami. It was awesome. The offense was as potent as any in the country. But if you think about those specific big games last year that Indiana played, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Ohio State, there was some punting fiascos, some special teams fiascos. Ohio State got the ball starting in the red zone a handful of times. The defense realistically gave, if my count is correct, up 14 to 17 points realistically, where Ohio State marched down the field and actually scored and didn't start with the ball inside the IU 10-yard line. So Indiana's defense put them in a position to win that game against Ohio State. Obviously, the offensive line had its shortcomings and whatnot. And then against Notre Dame, outside of that 98-yard touchdown run, again, which was set up off of a Curtis Rourke turnover and an IU turnover offensively, Indiana's defense, again, put Indiana in a position, if IU's offense played better in that game, in a position to have that game be closer and potentially even win that game. So the defense, I think, obviously the numbers are good, the stats were good from last year's defense, but in those big games, it was Indiana's defense that showed up more so than the offense. So I think that's a good sign heading into this 2025 season when you've got big games. You've got a road game against Penn State, a road game against Oregon, and a road game against Iowa. You've got Illinois in week 4, the Big Ten opener. So I think those kind of prove-it games, Indiana's going to have to rely on its defense because this defensive unit, it really could, Jim, be one of the best defensive units in the country again.
Sounds good, brother. Enjoy it. Go out, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Sweet, Jim. Thank you so much. I love being on.
Pretty cute. Zach Browning from thehoosier.com joining us, and that is going to wrap it up for us today. We appreciate you being with us. We're back tomorrow to do it again. Make sure you show up. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.